It was my 40th birthday. I was eating cake with Mom and Dad, the same two people I loved, who read me stories every night, who wiped every tear. When Mom said, "Eve, honey, there's something we need to tell you," and she pulled out an old envelope from the drawer and said, "You're not our child," I thought she was joking, until Dad said with a trembling voice, "We stole you from the hospital the night you were born, 40 years ago." And Mom said, "I couldn't have children. The doctors said it was impossible." And I went crazy. One night, when I was in the hospital nursery, I saw you alone in a crib. Nobody was next to you, and I picked you up, and we ran. She held my hands, looked at me, and said, "But 2 weeks ago, a private investigator came to our door, said your real family found you through DNA. They've been looking for you for 40 years, and now they know where you are." And at that moment, there was a knock on the door, forceful. It was the police, and behind them, a woman and a man in expensive clothes, with a luxury car, who looked at me, and the woman started crying and said, "Sophia, my daughter, I finally found you." And the police handcuffed Mom and Dad, the same people who had been Mom and Dad for 40 years. And I stood there between two families, one that stole me and one I'd never seen, and I didn't know which one I wanted. Baby, come close, because this story, honey, this one is about identity stolen at birth, about love built on lies, about two families and one impossible choice. My name is Eve, or at least that's what I thought my name was for 40 years. Now I don't know anymore. Let me start at the beginning. The beginning, I thought, was mine. I was born, or so I was told, on March 15th, 1983, in a small hospital in rural Oregon. My parents were Carol and Dennis Mitchell. Dad worked at a lumber mill. Mom was a teacher's aide. We lived in a modest house on Maple Street. Middle class, quiet, normal. I had a happy childhood. Not perfect, but happy. We didn't have a lot of money, but we had love. Mom packed my lunches. Dad coached my softball team. We went camping every summer, had family game nights every Friday. I was an only child. Mom always said she'd wanted more kids, but couldn't have them. Some medical issue? She never went into detail, and I never pushed. I looked like them. Dark hair, like Dad. Green eyes, like Mom. Or, at least, I thought I did. When you grow up with people, you start to see resemblances everywhere. Your brain fills in the blanks. I never questioned it. Why would I? They were my parents. I was their daughter. That was the story. That was the truth. Until it wasn't. 2 months ago, I did something on a whim. Something millions of people do every day, without thinking twice. I ordered a DNA test. One of those ancestry kits you see advertised everywhere. Spit in a tube, mail it off, find out where your ancestors came from. Fun, harmless, something to do on a boring Sunday afternoon. I was curious about my heritage. Mom always said we had Irish roots. Dad claimed some German ancestry. I wanted to see the breakdown, maybe find some distant cousins, connect with my roots. I sent it in, forgot about it, went on with my life. 6 weeks later, I got an email. Your results are ready. I opened it, excited, curious, expecting to see percentages, maps, interesting, historical connections. Instead, I saw something that made my blood run cold. You have a close family match. Immediate family member found. Immediate family. That meant parent, sibling, child. But I didn't have siblings. My parents were both only children, and I didn't have kids. So, who was this match? I clicked on it. The name was Victoria Harrison. Relationship. Mother. But my mother was Carol Mitchell. Carol Mitchell, who was probably at home right now, making dinner. Carol Mitchell, who called me every Sunday. Carol Mitchell, who I'd known my entire life. This had to be a mistake. A glitch in the system. A false positive. But then I saw the percentage. 50% DNA match. That's not a mistake. That's biological fact. Victoria Harrison was my biological mother, and I had no idea who she was. My hands were shaking as I clicked on her profile. It was sparse. Just a name, a city, Los Angeles, and a phone number. She'd listed a phone number, like she was hoping someone would call, like she was waiting. I stared at that number for 20 minutes. Couldn't move, couldn't think, just stared. Finally, I called. It rang 3 times. Then a woman answered. Her voice was elegant, refined. Hello? Hi, I said. My voice cracked. My name is Eve Mitchell. I got a DNA match notification. It says you're my mother. Silence. Long, heavy silence. Then I heard her breath catch. A sob. What's your birthday? She asked. Urgent. Desperate. March 15th, 1983. 83. Another sob. Louder. This time. Oh my God. Oh my God. It's you. It's really you. I don't understand, I said. Who are you? How are you, my mother? My mother is Carol Mitchell. I've known her my whole life. No, Victoria said, and her voice was breaking. Your real name is Sophia Harrison. And 40 years ago, on March 15th, 1983, at St. Mary's Hospital in Portland, Oregon, someone stole you from the nursery. The room started spinning. What? You were kidnapped, she said. Taken from your crib while I was sleeping in recovery. We've been looking for you ever since. 40 years. Every day. Every single day. I couldn't breathe. That's impossible. My parents, They raised me. They loved me. They wouldn't. I'm sending you something. Victoria said, "Check your email." Right now, I opened my laptop with shaking hands, refreshed my email. There was a message from her. Subject line, Sophia. I opened it. Inside were dozens of attachments. Photos, newspaper articles, police reports. The first photo was of a young couple. The woman looked like an older version of me. Same face shape, same eyes, same smile. She was holding a newborn baby wrapped in a pink blanket. The caption read, "Victoria and Robert Harrison with newborn daughter Sophia. March 15th, 1983. That baby was me. The next attachment was a newspaper article. The headline read, "Infant abducted from Portland Hospital. Parents desperate for answers." The article described how a newborn girl had been taken from St. Mary's Hospital nursery during the night shift. No signs of forced entry. No witnesses. Just gone. Security footage showed a woman in nurse's scrubs entering the nursery, picking up a baby, walking out. Nobody stopped her because she looked like she belonged there. But she wasn't a nurse. She was a kidnapper. And that baby was me. I called my parents immediately, asked them to come over, said it was urgent. They arrived within 20 minutes, walked in with worried faces. "Eve, honey, what's wrong?" I showed them the DNA results, the newspaper articles, the photos. "Tell me this isn't true," I said. My voice was shaking. "Tell me you didn't steal me." Mom's face went white. She looked at Dad. He looked at the floor. "Tell me," I screamed. Mom started crying. Quiet, broken sobs. "We didn't mean to. We didn't plan it. It just happened." "How does kidnapping just happen?" I said. Dad finally spoke. His voice was hollow. "Your mother couldn't have children. We'd tried for years. Fertility treatments. Everything. Nothing worked. She was devastated, depressed. I didn't know how to help her. Mom took over. I started volunteering at the hospital. In the nursery. I thought maybe being around babies would help, or make it worse. I don't know. I just needed to be near them. And one night, Dad continued, Carol called me. Hysterical. Said she'd done something terrible. Said she needed me to come get her. When I arrived, she was in the parking lot, holding a baby. Holding you. I didn't plan it. Mom sobbed. I swear I didn't. I was in the nursery. All the other volunteers had left, and I was alone with all these babies. And I saw you. So tiny. So perfect. And I picked you up, and I walked out. And nobody stopped me. We panicked, Dad said. We knew it was wrong. We should have taken you back immediately. But Carol was holding you. And you were so small. And she looked so happy for the first time in years. And I thought, maybe just for a few minutes, just to let her have this moment. But minutes turned into hours, Mom said, and hours turned into days. And by then, we'd already left the city. Changed our names, started over somewhere new, and you were ours. And we loved you, and we couldn't give you back. I felt sick. You stole me. You stole someone's child, and you kept her. For 40 years, we gave you a good life. Dad said desperately, we loved you. We raised you well. You were happy, weren't you? That's not the point. I screamed. You stole me from my real family. They spent 40 years looking for me. 40 years thinking I was dead, or suffering, or gone forever. And I was just living my life, not knowing, not even knowing. I was stolen. Mom reached for me. Eve, please, don't call me that. I said, my name isn't Eve. It's Sophia. Sophia Harrison. And you stole her. You stole me. That night, I called Victoria back, told her everything. She listened quietly. Then she said, we want to meet you. Please, will you let us meet you? I said yes. They flew up the next day. Victoria and Robert Harrison, my biological parents. I met them at a hotel. Neutral ground. Safe. When I walked into the lobby, I saw them immediately. They were standing by the window, both in their 60s now, elegant, well-dressed. And when Victoria saw me, she gasped. Sophia, she whispered. She walked toward me, slowly, like she was afraid I'd disappear. And when she reached me, she just stared, tears streaming down her face. You look just like me, she said. Just like I did, at your age. She was right. We could have been twins separated by 30 years. Robert was crying too. Big, silent tears. We never stopped looking. Never. We hired investigators, kept the case active, posted on every missing persons database. We never gave up hope. Why didn't they find me? I asked. Because your kidnappers were smart, Robert said. They changed your name, moved states, never used your social security number, homeschooled you until high school, so you weren't in any systems. By the time you had a paper trail, you were Eve Mitchell. Sophia Harrison had vanished until the DNA test, Victoria said. When you uploaded your DNA, it matched with ours. We'd both done tests years ago, hoping, praying, and then, 2 months ago, we got the notification. A match. Our daughter. After 40 years, they wanted me to come to Los Angeles, to see their home, meet my siblings. Siblings. Turns out I had 2. A brother, Marcus, age 37, and a sister, Julia, age 35. Victoria and Robert had more children after I was taken, trying to fill the hole I'd left. But they never forgot me, never stopped grieving. I flew to LA the following week. Their house was massive. A mansion in Bel Air, infinity pool, ocean view, staff. The Harrisons weren't just wealthy, they were mega wealthy. Robert had started a tech company in the 80s, sold it for billions in the 2000s. They were on Forbes lists, gave millions to charity. I could have grown up in this world with private schools and personal chefs and trust funds. Instead, I grew up in a 2-bedroom house in Oregon with hand-me-down clothes and public school and student loans. 2 completely different lives. And I'd gotten the wrong one. Not by choice, by theft. Marcus and Julia were kind but cautious. They'd grown up hearing about their missing sister, the ghost who haunted every family photo, the empty chair at every holiday. And now, here I was, 40 years old, a stranger, with their DNA. Do you remember anything? Julia asked. From when you were a baby? No, I said. I don't remember anything before age 3 or 4. Normal childhood amnesia. We have videos, Marcus said quietly, of you as a baby, before you were taken. Do you want to see them? I nodded. Victoria put on an old home video. Grainy, 1980s quality. On screen was a young Victoria, maybe 25, holding a tiny baby. Me, singing to me, rocking me, looking at me with such pure love, it hurt to watch. You were 3 days old here, she said, her voice breaking. This was the day before you were taken. The video showed Robert leaning in, kissing the baby's forehead. My little girl, he said on the recording. My Sophia. Then the video ended, because the next day I was gone. Victoria was sobbing now. Robert held her. Julia and Marcus looked away, and I sat there, numb, watching a love story that had been stolen before it even began. They wanted me to stay, to move to LA, to live with them, to be part of the family. We have a trust fund, Robert said. We set it up years ago, for when we found you. It's yours. $40 million. All yours. $40 million. More money than I'd seen in my entire life. And you're in the will, Victoria added. Everything we have will be split 3 ways. Between you, Marcus, and Julia. You're our daughter. This is your inheritance. I could have everything. Money, status, family, the life I should have had. All I had to do was accept it. But every time I thought about saying yes, I saw Carol's face, her tears, her desperation. She'd stolen me, ruined lives, committed a horrible crime. But she'd also loved me, raised me, been my mother for 40 years. How do you choose between 2 mothers? One who gave birth to you and one who raised you? I went back to Oregon, back to Carol and Dennis. They'd been arrested but released on bail pending trial. When I walked into their house, they looked broken. Aged 10 years, in 2 weeks. Are you pressing charges? Carol asked quietly. I'd been trying to answer that question since I found out. Victoria and Robert wanted me to. Wanted justice. Wanted Carol and Dennis to pay for what they'd done. But I couldn't do it. I couldn't send the people who raised me to prison. No, I said. I'm not pressing charges. Carol sobbed, fell to her knees. Thank you. Thank you, Eve. But I need you to understand something, I continued. What you did was unforgivable. You stole me. You stole 40 years from my real family, and you stole the life I should have had from me. We know, Dennis said, and we'll never forgive ourselves. I don't know if I can forgive you either, I said. But you're still my parents. You're still the people who raised me. And I can't just erase that. What are you going to do? Carol asked. I don't know, I admitted. I have 2 families now, and I don't fit in either one. So, here's where I am now, baby. I split my time. 2 weeks in LA with the Harrisons. 2 weeks in Oregon with Carol and Dennis. I'm learning about both lives, both families, trying to figure out who I am, who the first was, who the first should have been. The Harrisons are kind, generous. They've given me everything they can. Money, time, love. But they're strangers, genetically mine, but emotionally foreign. Carol and Dennis destroyed lives, committed crimes, built a family on lies. But they're my parents, the ones who taught me to ride a bike, who stayed up when I was sick, who celebrated every birthday and milestone. Love built on lies is still love, twisted, wrong, but real. And I don't know how to reconcile that. Here's what I've learned. Identity is fragile. You can spend 40 years being one person, and one DNA test can shatter everything you thought you knew. Family is complicated. Biology matters, but so does time. So does love. So does history. And forgiveness, baby. Forgiveness is the hardest thing I've ever tried to do. Some days, I hate Carol and Dennis. Hate them for stealing my life. Other days, I'm grateful because without them, I wouldn't be me. I'd be Sophia Harrison, billionaire heiress, country club kid, someone I don't know. I'm Eve Mitchell, middle-class Oregon girl, college graduate, social worker, messy, imperfect, real. Would Sophia have been better? I don't know. She had money. I had love. She had opportunity. I had stability. She had a family looking for her. I had a family holding me. I'll never know what Sophia's life would have been because Carol and Dennis took that choice away. But I am Eve, and Eve is real, and Eve is mine, even if she was born from theft. Thank you for sitting with me today, baby. This story is still unfolding. I don't have a neat ending. I don't have closure. I'm still figuring out who I am, where I belong, what family means. But here's what I know. You are more than your DNA, more than your circumstances, more than the choices others made for you. You are what you choose to be. even when those choices are impossible. Let me tell you what happened in the months after I found out. The legal situation became complicated. Very complicated. Victoria and Robert wanted to press charges. They'd hired the best lawyers in the country, built an airtight case. Carol and Dennis faced kidnapping charges, federal crimes, 40 years ago, but still prosecutable. No statute of limitations on kidnapping of a minor. They were looking at 20 years to life each. The prosecutor called me, asked if I'd testify. I said no. Ms. Mitchell, or should I say Miss Harrison, don't you want justice? I want peace, I said, and putting 2 elderly people in prison won't give me that. They stole you, he said. They robbed your biological family of 40 years. They deserve to be punished. Maybe they do, I said, but I'm not going to be the one to do it. Victoria was furious when she found out, called me crying. How can you protect them? After what they did, I'm not protecting them, I said. I'm protecting myself. I can't live with sending the people who raised me to prison. I just can't. They're criminals, she said. They stole my baby. They're also the people who taught me to read, I said quietly, who drove me to soccer practice, who paid for my college, who've loved me every single day for 40 years, stolen or not. That love was real. Love built on lies, Victoria said bitterly. Still love, I replied. We didn't speak for 3 weeks after that. Meanwhile, the media found out. Someone leaked the story. Maybe the police, maybe the hospital, maybe just some bored person with access to records. Either way, it exploded. Woman discovers she was kidnapped a T, birth through DNA test. Billionaire family reunited with stolen daughter after 40 years. The parents who stole their own child, a love story or a crime. Every major news outlet wanted an interview. Good Morning America, 60 Minutes, CN, Fox News, all of them. I said no to everyone, but that didn't stop them from camping outside my apartment. Outside Carol and Dennis's house. Outside the Harrison Mansion in LA. Photos of me started appearing online. Paparazzi shots. Me getting coffee. Me going to work. Me trying to live my life while the world dissected it. People had opinions. So many opinions. Some called Carol and Dennis monsters. Kidnappers. Said they should rot in prison. Others sympathized. Called it a desperate act by a desperate woman. Said Carol was mentally ill, that she deserved compassion, not condemnation. People debated me too. My choices, my loyalties. How can she still call them Mom and Dad? How can she not press charges? She's choosing criminals over her real family. She's being loyal to the people who raised her. Strangers felt entitled to tell me what I should feel, what I should do, what my story meant, but they weren't living it. I was. 3 months in, I did something radical. I invited both families to dinner, together. at a restaurant in Portland. Neutral territory. Carol and Dennis on one side. Victoria, Robert, Marcus, and Julia on the other. And me in the middle. The first 10 minutes were silent, painful. Nobody knew what to say. Finally, Victoria spoke, looked directly at Carol. Why did you do it? Carol's hands shook. I wanted a baby, more than anything. And I saw her, so perfect, so alone in that moment. And I just took her. I don't have a good reason. I was sick, desperate, wrong. You destroyed our lives, Victoria said, her voice breaking. Do you understand that? Every birthday, every holiday, every milestone, we grieved, we wondered, we hoped. For 40 years. I know, Carol said, tears streaming down. And I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. If I could take it back, I would. But you can't, Robert said quietly. You can't give us back 40 years. You can't give Sophia back her real childhood. No, Carol agreed. I can't. Dennis spoke next. We love her. I know that doesn't make it right. But we love her like she's ours. Because to us, she is. She's not yours, Marcus said, angry. She's ours. Biologically, legally, she's a Harrison. Actually, I said, I'm both. Whether any of you like it or not. Everyone looked at me. I'm Eve Mitchell, I continued. The person Carol and Dennis raised. The person who grew up in Oregon with garage sales and public school and macaroni dinners. That person is real. She exists. She's me. But I'm also Sophia Harrison, I said. The baby who was taken. The daughter who was lost. The heir to a fortune. That person exists too. And she's also me. I don't fit neatly into one box, I said. I'm not fully Eve, or fully Sophia. I'm both. And all of you are going to have to accept that. Silence. Then Julia spoke. I just want to know you. I don't care what name you use. I just want my sister. Marcus nodded. Same. Victoria reached across the table, took Carol's hand. Carol looked shocked. I hate what you did, Victoria said. I'll probably hate it for the rest of my life. But you raised my daughter into a good person, a kind person, and I'm grateful for that. Even if I wish it had been me. Carol sobbed. Thank you. It wasn't forgiveness. Not exactly, but it was a start. Over the next year, something unexpected happened. The two families started to merge, slowly, awkwardly, but genuinely. Carol and Victoria would have coffee sometimes, talk about me, share stories. She learned about my first steps from Carol. Carol learned about my genetic medical history from Victoria. Dennis and Robert went to a baseball game together, bonded over sports and grandparent hopes. Julia visited Oregon, spent a weekend with me and Carol, learned to make Carol's famous lasagna. Marcus invited Dennis to a work event. They talked about construction and business. We became this weird, blended, broken family. united by me, by the impossible situation we'd all been thrown into. Was it healthy? I don't know. Was it normal? Definitely not. But it worked. For us. The legal case eventually settled. Carol and Dennis pleaded guilty to kidnapping. But the judge, seeing the circumstances and my refusal to cooperate with prosecution, gave them a lenient sentence. House arrest for 5 years, probation for 10, community service, and mandatory therapy. No prison time. Victoria wasn't happy, but she accepted it because I asked her to. 2 years later, I legally changed my name, not to Sophia Harrison, not staying as Eve Mitchell, but to Eve Sophia Mitchell Harrison. All of it, every piece of my identity, legal, official, mine. I kept my job, kept my apartment, kept my life, but I also accepted my trust fund. Not all of it, just enough to pay off my student loans and buy a house. The rest stays in trust for the future, for my kids someday, if I have them. I spend holidays rotating. Thanksgiving with one family, Christmas with the other, Easter back to the first. Trying to be fair, trying to be present. It's exhausting, but it's my life. People ask me sometimes, do you regret finding out? And honey, that's a complicated question. Part of me wishes I'd never taken that DNA test, that I'd lived my whole life as just Eve Mitchell, died never knowing I was stolen. Ignorance is bliss, right? But another part of me is grateful because now I know where I came from. I know my medical history. I know I have siblings. I know there's a whole family who wanted me, who never stopped looking. That matters, even if it hurts. I've learned things about myself through this, through therapy and reflection and painful conversations. I learned I have Victoria's artistic talent. She paints. So do I. I'd always thought it was random. Turns out, it's genetic. I learned I have Robert's analytical mind, his love of puzzles and patterns. He was a software engineer. I'm a data analyst. Makes sense now. I learned Marcus and I both hate cilantro. Genetic trait. We laughed when we figured that out. I learned Julia and I have the same laugh, same hand gestures, same way of tilting our heads when we're thinking. Genetics are real. Nature matters. But I also learned that Carol taught me empathy. Dennis taught me resilience. They shaped who I am just as much as my DNA did. Nature and nurture. Both. Always both. Last month was my 42nd birthday. I had 2 parties. One in Oregon with Carol and Dennis. Small, intimate, lasagna and chocolate cake and board games. The way we always celebrated. One in LA with the Harrisons. Big, fancy, catered dinner and champagne. and a string quartet, the way they celebrate. Two totally different worlds. And I belong to both, and neither. I'm learning to be okay with that, with existing in the in-between, with being both, and instead of either or. Carol's health is declining. She's 68 now. Heart problems. The stress of everything has taken a toll. I visit her every week, sit with her, hold her hand, tell her about my life. "Do you hate me?" she asked last week. "Some days," I admitted. "Some days I'm so angry I can't breathe. Angry that you stole my chance to know Victoria from birth, to grow up with Marcus and Julia, to have the life I was supposed to have." "And other days?" she asked quietly. "Other days, I'm grateful. Because you loved me. You wanted me so desperately that you committed a crime. That's twisted, wrong, but also kind of beautiful in a broken way." She cried. "I'm sorry. I'll say it every day for the rest of my life. I'm sorry." "I know," I said, "and I'm trying to forgive you. I'm really trying. Victoria and I are closer now. We talk on the phone twice a week. She's teaching me about the family business, wants me involved, wants me to have a legacy role. I'm considering it, but I'm also keeping my day job because I like it, because I built it myself, because it's mine." She respects that, mostly. Robert jokes that I'm stubbornly independent, like both my mothers. He's probably right. So, baby, let me tell you what this whole experience taught me. Identity is not fixed. It's not simple. You can be two things at once. You can have two truths, two families, two names, two stories. And that's okay. You don't have to choose. You don't have to fit into one box. Family is not just DNA. It's not just who raised you. It's both. It's everything. It's messy and complicated and painful and beautiful. Forgiveness is a process, not an event. Some days I forgive Carol. Some days I don't. That's okay too. Healing isn't linear. And love is the most complicated thing of all. Carol loved me enough to steal me. Wrong, criminal, but love nonetheless. Victoria loved me enough to never stop searching. For 40 years, through heartbreak and dead ends. That's love too. Both are real. Both matter. I don't know how this story ends, honey. I'm still living it. Still figuring it out. But I know this. I'm not a victim. I'm not a villain. I'm not a cautionary tale. I'm a person. A whole, complex, contradictory person. Made up of pieces. From everywhere. Biology. Environment. Choice. Chance. I'm Eve. I'm Sophia. I'm Mitchell. I'm Harrison. I'm all of it. And I'm learning to be okay with that. If you're struggling with identity, with family, with complicated, impossible situations. Know this: you don't have to have all the answers. You don't have to choose one truth. You don't have to fit into anyone's expectations. You can be messy. You can be both, and you can be still figuring it out. That's not weakness. That's human. And you're doing better than you think. Thank you for sitting with me today, baby. Thank you for holding space for my mess. You are seen. You are valid. You are enough. Exactly as you are. Let me tell you about something that happened last month that changed everything again. Carol was in the hospital, her heart finally giving out after years of stress and guilt. The doctors said she had maybe weeks left. I sat by her bed every day, held her hand, watched her fade. And one afternoon, she woke up, looked at me with clear eyes, and said, "There's something else I need to tell you." My stomach dropped. "What?" "The night I took you," she said slowly, "I wasn't alone in that nursery." I sat up straight. "What do you mean?" "There was another baby," she said, "right next to you. Same pink blanket, same hospital bracelet, twins." The world stopped spinning. "Twins?" I whispered. She nodded, tears rolling down her face. "I only took one. You. I left the other one there. I couldn't carry both. Couldn't explain two babies suddenly appearing. So I chose you. And I left your twin sister." I couldn't breathe. Couldn't process. "I have a twin." "Yes," Carol said. "And I've carried that guilt for 40 years too. Not just that I stole you, but that I separated you, that I broke you apart." I called Victoria immediately, shaking, crying. "Did you have twins?" Long pause. Then, "Yes." "How did you know?" "Carol just told me. We had twin girls," Victoria said, her voice breaking. "Sophia and Isabella." "You're Sophia." "We still have Isabella. She's been looking for you her whole life, too. We all have. But she's your twin." She felt it more. Said she always felt like half of her was missing. "I have a twin sister, an identical twin, who I've never met, who grew up in the life I should have had, while I grew up in the life she was spared from." I met Isabella 2 days later. Victoria arranged it at the hospital where I was born, where we were both born, where we were separated. I walked into the room, and there she was, looking at myself. Exactly. Same face, same body, same everything, but different. She carried herself differently, talked differently, dressed differently, richer, polished, everything I might have been. We stared at each other for a full minute, not speaking, just staring. Then she started crying. "I knew you existed. I've always known, felt you, dreamed about you. They told me you were dead or lost forever, but I knew you were out there." I was crying too. I didn't know I had no idea. I just thought I was an only child. We're not just sisters, she said. We're twins. We shared a womb. We were supposed to share a life, and someone stole that from us. We hugged this stranger with my face, this sister I'd never known, and it felt like coming home, like finding a missing piece I didn't know I'd lost. Isabella told me about her life, growing up as the twin who stayed, the survivor, the one who got to keep her family, but also the one who always felt incomplete. Everyone treated me like I was special, because I was the one who wasn't taken, she said. But I never felt special. I felt broken. Like half of me was gone, and nobody understood except me. She'd spent her whole life searching, hired investigators on her own, starting at age 18, joined every DNA database, posted on every forum, never gave up hope. And then my test came through, and she knew immediately. I saw the notification. 50% DNA match. Sister. And I knew it was you. I knew. We talked for hours, compared lives, discovered similarities, despite growing up worlds apart. Same laugh, same gestures, same love of coffee with too much cream, same fear of spiders, same recurring dream about flying. Twin things, genetic things, things that proved we were connected even when we were separated, but also differences. She was confident. I was cautious. She was extroverted. I was reserved. She liked champagne. I liked beer, nature, and nurture. Both. Always both. The media went crazy again when they found out about the twin. Stolen baby. Had twin sister who grew up not knowing her. More interviews. More cameras. More strangers with opinions. But I didn't care this time because I had Isabella, and that was all that mattered. Carol died 3 weeks later in her sleep. Peaceful, the nurses said. I was devastated. Despite everything, despite the lies and the theft and the crime, she was still my mom, and she was gone. The funeral was complicated. Who should come? Who had the right to grieve? I invited everyone, both families. Let them all say goodbye to the woman who'd created this impossible situation. Victoria came, stood in the back, didn't say much, but she came for me. Isabella came too, sat next to me, held my hand. She raised you, Isabella said. She gave you love, even if she took you illegally. That counts for something. Dennis sobbed through the whole service. Lost without Carol. They'd been together 50 years. Built a life on a crime, but also on genuine love. After the funeral, Victoria approached Dennis, said something to him I couldn't hear, then hugged him. He looked shocked, but grateful. Later, Victoria told me what she said. Thank you for loving my daughter when I couldn't. I hate how it happened. But I'm grateful she wasn't alone. That's growth, baby. That's healing. Messy, imperfect, but real. Isabella and I have become inseparable. We're making up for 40 years of lost time. We talk every day. Video chat, text, constantly. Visit each other monthly. She's teaching me about the family business, the investments, the properties, the legacy. I'm teaching her about normal life, Target, runs, budgeting, public transportation. We're teaching each other how to be sisters, how to be twins, how to be whole. People can't tell us apart. Even our families get confused sometimes. But we know we can tell. Twin sense, maybe. Or just practice. She's me, but also not me. A parallel version. A what if made flesh. And I love her fiercely, with the intensity of 40 years of missing her, without knowing she existed. Last week, Isabella asked me something. Do you think we would have been close if we'd grown up together? I thought about it. I don't know. Maybe. Probably. Twins usually are. I think we would have been best friends, she said. I think we would have been inseparable, done everything together, finished each other's sentences. Maybe, I said, or maybe we would have fought, been too similar, needed space from each other. I guess we'll never know, she said sadly. No, I agreed. We'll never know what could have been. All we have is what is, and what is pretty good. She smiled. Yeah. It is. Dennis moved to LA last month. Closer to me, but also closer to the Harrisons. Making amends. Trying to be part of the solution instead of the reminder of the problem. Robert offered him a job, managing one of their properties. Good pay, light work, mostly just giving him purpose and connection. Dennis cried when Robert offered. Why? After everything? Because Eve loves you, Robert said simply, and we love Eve. So by extension, we care about you, even if we don't fully forgive you. That's family, honey. Complicated, conditional, but trying. I'm 42 now. 2 years since I found out. Feels like a lifetime. Feels like yesterday. I have 2 families, 2 names, 2 identities, 2 entire lives running parallel. Some days, it's overwhelming, too much, too complicated. Other days, it's beautiful, rich, full. I'm learning to live in the complexity, to not need resolution, to exist in the both. And I'm Eve. I'm Sophia. I'm Mitchell. I'm Harrison. I'm the stolen baby and the found daughter. I'm the woman who was raised by kidnappers and loved them anyway. I'm the twin who was separated and reunited. I'm all of it. Isabella and I started a foundation last year for families separated by kidnapping or adoption or foster care, helping them find each other, helping them heal. We called it the Sophia Project. After the baby, I was the name I lost. The identity that was stolen. We've reunited 12 families so far. 12 stories like mine. Some happy, some tragic, all complicated. But we help. We show up. We tell our story so others feel less alone. That's purpose, baby. That's legacy. Taking pain and turning it into something meaningful. People ask me all the time, what do you wish had been different? And my answer surprises them. I wish Carol and Dennis had been able to have their own baby. I wish they hadn't been so desperate. I wish I'd grown up with my biological family. But I don't wish I'd never met Carol and Dennis, because they made me who I am. So, you're glad it happened? They ask. No, I say. I'm not glad. It was wrong, criminal, traumatic. But I'm glad I survived it. I'm glad I found my way to both families. I'm glad I have Isabella. I'm glad for the complexity, because it made me strong. That's the truth. Messy, contradictory, but true. Last night, I had dinner with everyone, both families, at a restaurant in LA. Same place we'd met 2 years ago for that first painful conversation. But this time, it wasn't painful. It was loud, chaotic, full of laughter and stories and interruptions. Victoria showed me photos from her recent trip to Italy. Dennis told a terrible dad joke. Robert talked about a new investment. Marcus complained about work. Julia showed off her new engagement ring. Isabella and I argued about whose turn it was to pick the next sister trip destination. Normal family dinner. Except nothing about this family was normal. But it was mine. Ours. This weird, blended, broken, beautiful thing we'd built from tragedy. On the drive home, Isabella said something that stuck with me. You know what's wild? If Carol hadn't taken you, we wouldn't have each other now. Not like this. We'd just be twins who grew up together. Normal. Expected. But because we were separated, because we found each other again, it means more. We appreciate it more. She was right. The loss made the reunion sweeter. The pain made the healing more profound. I wouldn't wish this on anyone, but I also wouldn't trade it because it's my story, and I've learned to love my story. All of it, even the stolen parts. So baby, here's my final truth. Life will break you. It will steal from you. It will take things you didn't know you had until they're gone. But it will also surprise you, reunite you, give you back things you thought were lost forever. And sometimes, the breaking is what makes you whole. I was stolen at birth, separated from my twin, raised by criminals, lived a lie for 40 years. But I was also loved, protected, given opportunities, connected to 2 families instead of 1. Both things are true. The trauma and the blessing, the loss and the gain. You don't have to choose. You can hold both. You can be both, broken and whole, lost and found, stolen and chosen. All of it, all at once. That's what it means to be human. That's what it means to survive. That's what it means to heal. Thank you for sitting with me today, baby, for listening to my impossible story, for holding space for all my contradictions. I hope it helps you hold space for yours, because you're complicated too. We all are, and that's not a flaw. That's what makes us beautiful. You are loved. You are whole. You are exactly who you're supposed to be. Even if you were stolen, even if we're broken, even if you're still figuring it out, you're enough right now as you are. God bless you, honey. This is Eve Sophia Mitchell Harrison. All of me, every piece. And I'll see you next time.